Hi and good evening sa lahat ng nanonood. So my name is Juvie and I will be your moderator for this evening. So thank you for watching our fifth episode ng Online Kamustahan. So today, ang ating kamustahan, no? So please stay tuned and then to kick off our webinar today, samahan niyo muna ako na mag-pray. So, wait lang. So, thank you so much for being with me sa prayer na yon. So, today I'm going to give you our host. Let me present to you Mr. Russell Pakibot. Sir Russell,
Hi!
wait. Ang hirap po pag-live. Hi, Sir Russ.
Hello po, nawala si Sir Jack ulit.
Ah, ano
Standard.
lang siya,
Audio lang.
audio lang.
Hi, Sir Jax. Medyo mahina lang po. Ayun. For the meantime, i-welcome na lang po natin muna ang ating mga viewers ngayon kasi nagdiwa, Volunteers for Mental Health. Hello po sa mga
Hello
viewers
po
natin.
sa
Ayun,
mga
welcome po sa ating
nagdiwa.
episode. Sa ating fifth episode ng Online Kamustahan. And kamusta kayo, Ma'am Jovi, Sir Jax?
Ay
Ngayong
naman,
nag-EMECQ. Parang last week ay nag-GCQ na tayo tapos ngayon tapos last week din is nag-ano tayo ng MECQ, transition tayo ng MECQ, parang ang hirap na naman ulit. No, parang kamusta ang ating mental health?
ayan. Tapos syempre may mga naririnig ka pa na sinasabi nila na parang babalik ulit tayo sa ECQ.
True.
O
Parang
pero syempre,
mahirap na
mas,
siya ulit, no?
mas nakakadaming isip, di ba?
Pero despite of this, kaya sana hindi natin nakakalimutan ng ngumiti at baka kasi filled na tayo ng mga negative thoughts, baka nakakalimutan na natin kahit saglit lang ng pagngiti, no? Ngayon, aalamin natin kung ang pagngiti ba ay part ba siya ng positive thinking natin, ng positive psychology. So,
Oo nga.
with our
Yun.
speaker ay we're going to talk about positive psychology and toxic positivity. Yung sinasabi ko bang kanina na pagngiti ay part ba siya ng positivism ng isang tao or part ba siya ng toxic positivity? Oh. And let me introduce our speaker for tonight.
Wait. Bye-bye.
Okay. Ayan. Let me introduce our speaker for tonight. She is a psychometrician, psychology, subject consultant, former freelance behavioral therapist, and an author. She is a candidate of Masters in Psychology with specialization in clinical psychology at Polytechnic University of the Philippines. She took several courses in positive psychology online that helped her expand her knowledge and skills about the field. They are as follows: Certificate in Positive Psychology, Applications and Interventions at University of Pennsylvania. A Life of Happiness and Fulfilment at Indian Business School, Positive Psychology, Character, Grit, and Research Method at University of Pennsylvania, Science of Well-Being at Yale University, Positive Psychology, Resilience at University of Pennsylvania, Positive Psychology at University of North Carolina, Positive Psychiatry and Mental Health at University of Sydney. She is also attended the first Philippine Positive Psychology Conference embracing the science of happiness and well-being. Wow! Moreover, she is an active practitioner of positive psychology and often invited to be a resource speaker and facilitator for positive psychology-related topics. She is an active member of the Psychological Association of the Philippines and part of the Positive Psychology Special Interest Group. Let us all welcome our speaker, Ms. Hannah Gabuyo.
Hi
Hi,
everyone, good
ma'am.
evening.
Ayun.
Hi Sir Ross. Thank you
Hello
so
po.
much for the wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. And good evening po sa everyone ulit.
Powerful yung training. Hi, ma'am. Sana all.
Effort lang. Effort. Time. Okay. Ayan, thank you so much, Sir Ross. So,
Ako.
mag-start na ba ako?
Share na po natin
Mag-start
yung
na
screen
ako.
natin.
Alright, sige.
Ayun.
Ayan. Okay, thank you so
So,
much.
I'm giving you
So,
now the floor, Ma'am Hannah.
okay.
And see you
Ayan.
later.
Thank you so much again, Sir Ross. Okay. So it started when one person asked about toxic positivity in one of my webinars last month. And then she asked, well, what are the behaviors of an individual having a toxic positivity mindset? So from there, I was curious as well and eager to expand my knowledge about toxic positivity. So this time, I'm going to share and shed light about the difference between what is toxic and what is positive psychology. So, but before we differentiate the two, let's begin first with positive psychology. And so basically, in positive psychology, it focuses on these uh, main themes. So may main themes ang positive psychology. Ayan. Ayan. So the main themes are positive experiences, positive states and traits, positive institution, positive social relationships, positive accomplishment. So lahat positive, di ba? Lahat positive. So let's start first with positive experiences. Sa positive experiences, here we can cultivate or build positive emotions from these positive experiences. So ano yung mga nabibuild nating positive emotions from these experiences? Example, happiness, joy, inspiration, and love. So those are the positive emotions na pwede mo makuha sa positive experiences. Yan. Next is positive states and traits. Sa positive states and traits, ang mga nakukultivate natin dyang traits or characters are like gratitude, resilience, and compassion. So, ito, nakukultivate natin ito, nakukuha natin siya, nade-develop kasi some of the traits, hindi naman talaga siya innate. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung mga na-develop over time. Like resilience, na-develop siya because we undergone from adversities, problems, or dilemmas. Kaya, nabibuild yung resilience. So, hindi lang siya nabibuild on positive experiences, but also sa mga negative experiences. Pero dito, positive traits and states and traits itong tutukoy natin. So, next is positive institution. Sa positive institution, we're in applying positive principles within entire organizations and institutions. How? It is when you develop your signature strength. Kasi sa positive psychology, kinocultivate natin dito yung ating mga strength. Not just focusing on the weaknesses, pero more on positive traits. Bakit? Bakit natin kailangan i-cultivate yung positive traits? It is because kapag nag-expand ka as an individual, makakatulong ito sa organization. So, pag kinultivate mo yung strength mo, ma-enhance natin dito yung ating happiness. Ngayon, ang employees, pag masaya ang employees, what will happen to the company? It will thrive. Thrive. Ayan. Next is positive social relationship. Pag positive social relationship, ang tinutukoy natin dito is genuine and a give and take relationship. So yun ha. Social interactions pero may give and take. Not just give, not just take. So yun tutukoy dito as a positive social relationship. Next is positive accomplishment or achievement. Ito yung goals mo or career path. So, yun yung mga realistic goals, mga attainable goals. Yun yung positive accomplishment. Bakit? Kasi according sa theory ng Perman ni Seligman, kapag tayo ay nakapag-accomplish ng isang bagay, even on little things, nai-enhance ang ating positive emotions. So, nai-increase ang ating happiness. So, yun ang nagagawa ng accomplishment. At the same time, ano din ang nagagawa ng accomplishment? Siyempre, nabibuild din yung ating traits and states. Traits like grit, perseverance, ayan. So, yun ang nagagawa ng positive accomplishment. So, here, the idea here is not to fix the problem, but rather focus on ways to make life better or worth living. Ngayon, siguro kasi sa positive psychology, iniisip natin more on positive. So, iniisip natin positive lang lagi. So, nakalimutan na si negative. So, paano ngayon nag-a-arise ang positive toxicity or toxic positivity? Kasi it's still the same. Marami lang mga definitions or definitions or key terms sa internet, pero it's still the same. So, ayan. Ayan. Sa kabilang table, toxic positivity. Sa kabila is positive psychology. So, let's try. Okay. So, here, let's try to define and let's see if we can give justice about the topic. So, let's move on. Ayan. Kabila, toxic. Sa toxic positivity, sabi dito, it says overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. What we do mean by overgeneralization of happiness? So, this means that we have this kind of thinking that we need to be 100% all the time. Mapatrabaho man sa office, settings to ha, kasi settings across all situations. Mapatrabaho man sa office, sa bahay, sa school, kahit saang lugar. Or kahit sa ibang tao, family, friends, co-workers, ayan, significant others. So, sa kahit anong sitwasyon, happy birthday, anniversary, lahat, name it, yung situations. Or if you are brokenhearted, walang trabaho, nasusunog yung niluluto, mga ganun. Ayan, across situations. So, kahit anong sitwasyon, nagfo-focus lang tayo on the positive emotions that we're still grateful. Kunyari, grateful ka pa rin. We can still give love o di kaya hope for the brighter future. Ganun yung toxic positivity in the generalize na lahat sa lahat ng context. So, we understand and acknowledge why people feel that way dahil posible naman may naganap na sitwasyon sa buhay, puro negative emotions lang. So, naramdaman natin na hindi siya nakakatulong. Kaya anong ginawa natin? In-ignore natin yung negative emotions. So, inisip natin, focus na lang ako on the positive side kasi baka mas light lang yung buhay. So, pwedeng ganun. May possibility na ganun. Kaya nag-focus ka na lang, i-generalize mo na lang yung pagiging masaya all the time. So, ganun siya. But, okay, in positive psychology, sa kabila, itong strategy na to ay hindi nakakatulong in the long run. So, anong dapat gawin? Sa positive psychology, it says we have to feel at least 75 to 90% of positive emotions over time. So, 75 to 90%. Because according to Barbara Fredrickson, a pioneer researcher of positive emotions, she stated that we have to, at least we need to have a ratio of 3 positive emotions over 1 negative emotion because negative emotion has a purpose and it is part of human experience. So we have to acknowledge negative emotions as well. Sorry. So yan siya. Ayan. So 75 to 90% positive lang. So meron pa tayong 25 to 10% na negative emotion na dapat i-acknowledge. So next is, sa toxic positivity, the denial, minimization, and individualization of the authentic human emotional experience, wherein in positive psychology, we acknowledge negative and positive emotions. So, parehas ina-acknowledge. Ayan. Ayan. So, dito sa toxic positivity, denial and validation of human emotional experience. So, ayan. Ayan. Toxic positivity, we're trying to ignore negative emotions. We try to deny its existence. O, kaya ayaw nating tanggapin na it's there. Tumambling ka man, maging busy man tayo buong araw, people are hardwired to feel. Hindi lang more on positive emotions yung acknowledge, but also negative emotions. So what we should do instead of ignoring negative emotions? Ayan, being denial about it, kahit alam mo namang may nararamdaman kang discomfort, the first time we do in positive psychology is we should acknowledge both emotions. We have to understand that it's okay to feel sad, angry, lonely, sorrow, Okay, disgusted, frustrated. So, okay lang yung makaramdam ng gano'n. Kasi nakakatulong ito for our growth. Halimbawa, kapag nakaramdam tayo ng takot, ibig sabihin pag nakaramdam ng takot, okay, itong emotion na 'to gives signals for us to be cautious with our environment, with the people, maybe people that surrounds us. Depende kung nasang lugar ka, depende kung saang context. So, 'pag nakaramdam ka ng takot, you have to be cautious. Ito ay threat. It's either threat kasi hindi naman lahat ng takot threat. Puwedeng challenge din 'yun, pero depende. Depende nga sa context or sa lugar o settings mo, nasaan ka ngayon. So, anong gagawin mo kapag nakaramdam ka ng threat? Flight or fight response. So, ilalagay ba natin yung sarili sa panganib? Challenge ba ito? It's either you have to go for it or takbo. Ganun siya. Kaya kailangan i-internalize or mag-reflect. How about frustration? This signifies that things are not working in our way. Ngayon, iniisip kong bakit hindi nag-work yung isang solusyon na nagawa ko, bakit ito ang outcome. So, ganun ang frustration kapag in-acknowledge mo siya. Not to make things worse, but at least acknowledge the situation and process the emotion. So, ito yun. Next is, ayan, toxic positivity is judgmental or lacks of compassion. And then here in positive psychology, of course, non-judgmental and compassionate. Ayan. Okay. Sa toxic positivity, judgmental, or lacks of compassion, by choosing to be happy all the time, it becomes toxic when you don't acknowledge or admit your emotions. Halimbawa, may huge possibility din. Halimbawa, kunyari, hindi mo acknowledge yung emotions mo. Bakit ako nakakaramdam ng lungkot? Naiinis ako. So, ginajudge mo yung sarili mo kung bakit ka nakakaramdam ng negative emotions, which is wrong. Walang self-compassion kasi dapat ina-acknowledge nga daw ang negative emotions. Ngayon, may isang instances na toxic din kapag may mga ibang tao na mabilis nilang na-acknowledge yung emotions nila, yung negative emotions, or nai-stabilize yung emotion. Halimbawa, may nangyari, stress ka. Mabilis ka nakakapag-reflect, itong dapat kong gawin. So, may mga taong ganun din, mabilis. Ngayon, dahil mabilis mong na-establish yung negative emotion mo, o nababalik mo yung dati mong mood, o happy mood, or neutral mood, nababalance ang sarili. May pagkakataon na na-judge mo yung ibang tao na, ano ba yan, hindi ma-process, hindi naman big deal. Kung ako, kaya ko yung gawin eh. So, toxic yon kasi, maybe nagagawa natin yun unconsciously or consciously. Conscious and unconscious. Hindi ka aware na posibleng judge mo siya kasi hindi niya agad ma-process yung emotion niya samantalang kaya mong gawin or ibang tao sa'yo. So, vice versa. So, yung tao kasi may kanya-kanya tayong coping style and how to handle ourselves. Pwede ako matagal ako mag-process ng emotion pero it doesn't mean na hindi ko kaya. Now, in positive psychology, it is non-judgmental and compassionate. So, paano? Since alam kong i-process yung emotion ko at hindi siya madaling i-process. May mga bagay kasi na pinagdadaanan ng problema na hindi talaga mabilis i-process, di ba? So, lalagay ko yung sitwasyon ko yung sarili ko sa sitwasyon niya. Bibigyan natin ng time ang isang tao at tulungan ang sarili niya to process it. Natulungan ang sarili niya to process it kasi not all the time you have to be there to other people kasi baka maging dependent naman sa'yo. So, ibigyan mo siya ng time to process it. So, yun yung definition about toxic positivity. Ibig sabihin, 100% all the time happy ka, dinideny mo yung emotions mo, yung negative emotions mo, and at the same time, judge mo yung sarili mo why you feel that way or yung ibang tao. So, yun yung toxic positivity, wherein yung positive psychology is yung opposite side. So, here, ayan. Ito yung mga downside. Ito yung mga traits na kapag meron ka, nakakatulong talaga sa ibang tao, nag-uplift ng emotions, especially happiness. Yan. Kasi pag happiness, pag masaya ang isang tao, anong mangyayari? naging creative sila, nakaka-build sila ng resources, yun talaga yun. Pero yung downside ng happiness, ito yung downside kapag sobra. Okay? Downside of having too much of these traits. Number one, ay una is happiness or yung umaapaw ang kaligayahan. Well, may mga instances naman talaga na naranasan natin maging masaya, di ba? Yung umaapaw. Pero yung sobra-sobra, yung araw-araw na lang, di ba? Walang ganon. Walang 100% na masaya ka all the time. Walang ganon eh. So, pag happiness, anong downside nito? Forcing yourself to be happy all the time will make you less happy. So, yun yung downside niya. Kasi pinipilit mo eh, pinipressure mo yung sarili mo maging masaya. Intense degrees of happiness may be costly at can lead to negative outcomes instead of benefiting us. So, ibig sabihin, ano mangyari negative outcomes? Instead of being happy, ano nangyari? Naging anxious ka. As a person experiences intense level of happiness may lead to risky behavior. O di kaya naman dysfunction in certain areas of our life. Example, not paying attention to details. Di kaya we become less creative and then take more risks which is dangerous. For example, may mga state tayo na kunyari sobrang happy mo tapos umuo ka na lang sa isang project which is hindi mo kaya mapanindigan, umuo ka lang because you think at that moment or masaya ka. So, ayan, yung mga risky behavior. May mga iba pang example ng mga risky behavior pag masaya. So, naging impulsive. Kapag too much happiness, yung hindi na makarealidad. Yan. Next is hope o pag-asa. Ayan. It's okay to have hope. Wala namang problema doon. Remember, ito yung downside lang of having too much of this trait. So, pag hope naman o pag-asa, ibig sabihin, wishing for something rather than forcefully working toward it. So, it's only natural that we are more favorable with our expectations of the future, pero the greater will be our disappointment. Too much hope can hinder preparing for negative outcomes. Tapos, false hope is a hope that no meaningful basis in reality. Example, pwedeng self-deluding, and then eventually, it will probably end up sabotaging or defeating you kapag too much hope na. So, kailangan may basis kang nag-hope or, paano ba ito? Sa hope, kanya, gawan mo muna ng action and then you hope and then let go. For example, if you're having a webinar, mag-strategize ka, alamin mo yung mga pitfalls, alamin mo yung mga dapat gawin, and then kapag nag-present ka na, let it go and hope for the best. Parang ganun. Pero hindi. Wait. Pero parang ganun siya. Kailangan paghandaan mo muna. May action kang gagawin. Hindi ka lang mag-hope, pero wala ka namang ginawang backup na action. So, ganun yung ibig kong sabihin dito sa hope. Now, here in empathy, so there difference between empathy and sympathy. Pag empathy, ano siya, understanding other people's feeling or emotion because we experience, naranasan natin kung anong naranasan ng isang tao. While sympathy, understanding and recognizing their feelings. So, anong downside nito kapag masyadong empathetic sa isang tao? Okay, if someone gets so consumed by another's feeling that they neglect their feelings and needs. Ayan. So, Stern says, those who regularly, consistently prioritizing other people's emotion over their own are more susceptible to experience anxiety and low level of depression. So, we want to be there for someone, but not to lose ourselves. Next is kindness, kabutihan. Okay, here in kabutihan, sa kindness, usually may mga tao talaga na mataas yung signature strength pagdating sa kindness eh. Yung putting others before ourselves. Tapos anong mangyayari? Pag nasobrahan naman. So ito yon, putting others before ourselves and do everything in our power to appease those people around us. Pag may free time, or yung free time was spent to giving, giving, and giving. So what will happen? If you're always giving, people will expect that of you. You will develop unrealistic expectations of others. Ayan, ikaw din sa kanila. So mag-expect sila sa'yo, mag-expect na rin ako sa inyo na ibibigay niyo to kasi ito yung kaya kong gawin sa inyo. Next, people will come to you only when they need something. Tapos, you will forget about being kind to yourself and you will be seen as this weak. And of course, some people. And you will attract needy individual. So that's the downside of being too kind. Ayan. Next is optimism. Positibong pananaw. Ayan. There are types of optimism, di ba? Itong isa realistic optimism and yung isa naman blind optimism. So, pag realistic, nakikita mo yung reality, nakikita mo yung pitfalls. O kapag blind naman, sometimes if you're blind or are goals and challenges that are not attainable. So it is good to be optimistic individual, but too much confidence can put us in a risky situation with relationship, money, work, etc. Tapos in this scenario, if a person tends to focus on positive aspect of a plan or situation, he eventually may fall or maybe blind to any potential pitfalls. So, hindi niya nakikita kung ano yung mga bagay na kailangan niya i-assess or yung kailangan niyang posibleng, alam mo yun, hindi ka na ma-move into sa goals mo kasi hindi mo nakikita. Kunyari, may gusto kang gawin, may mga goals ka na, o like, for example, itong webinar na ito, kunyari, kung hindi ako naghanda, anong mangyayari? So, posibleng hindi ko masagot yung mga tanong or posibleng hindi ako mag-research about positive toxicity. Tapos yung general knowledge ko na lang yung pwede kong sabihin. Pero ang downside doon, kung masyadong optimistic ang pananaw ko, tapos hindi ko nakikita yung mga pitfalls, posibleng, ayun, hindi ako handa. So, that's it. Next is, ayan. So, sinasabi ko tong mga downside ng mga traits na to, not to show you just to show you the downside of having too much of it. Pero hindi totally na itatwa or tanggalin nyo na to yung mga wonderful traits na to sa buhay natin kasi nakakatulong siya to enhance or makakapag-benefit ka dito sa mga traits na to. Just, kunyari, yung happiness, hindi lang ikaw nakakatulong yan, pero contagious din siya na tinatawag nating ripple effect. So, kapag masaya ka, may ripple effect yun sa ibang tao at contagious yun. So, posibleng mahawa mo din yung iba, masaya siya, hanggang, ayun, may mga effect yun. So, ganun. Ayan. Ayan. Ito yung example of toxic and non-toxic statements. Ito yung statements from Miss Quintero and Dr. Long. So, dito, ayan. Ito yung, sa kabila, on the side, toxic statement. Sa kabila naman, non-toxic statements. Kasi kapag nagsasearch ako online about the toxic positivity, tapos, more on sa ibang bansa. So, naghahanap ako ng mga Filipino toxic statement, pero mostly ito talaga yung nakita ko. Pero, ayan, siguro ito na. So here, sa kabila, kapag toxic statement kasi, according to Dr. Long, halimbawa ito sa kabila, don't think about it, stay positive. So, dito, sinasabi sa statement na to na lagi ka lang positive, which is incorrect. So, anong dapat mong gawin? Anong right statement ang pwede mong sabihin instead of this one? So, here, describe what you are feeling and I am listening. So, dito, hindi niya ini-ignore kung ano yung negative emotions at the same time yung positive. Sinasabi lang niya kung ano yung nararamdaman ng isang tao at makikinig lang siya. So, number 2 is, don't worry, be happy. Kasi not all the time, mga tao, magiging masaya. So, instead of saying this word o statement, I see that you are really stressed and anything I can do. So here, hindi din niya ina-ignore kung ano yung nararamdaman ng isa at gusto lang nitong, sa statement na to, gusto lang niyang ma-reveal ng tao kung ano yung kinai-stressan niya. So that's it. Next is, failure is not an option. Ayan, failure is not an option. So remember, failure is not an option. Sa buhay, meron naman talagang nag-fail ka naman talaga, especially if you're new to a new project o may goals kang dapat gawin tas hindi ka familiar. So instead of saying that, ayan, pwede mong sabihin na failure is part of growth and success. So ibig sabihin, kapag may gusto kang gawin na isang bagay, may mga obstacle, but from that obstacle, pwede tayo mag-grow. Ayan. Next is, everything will work out in the end. So, parang dito, binibigyan mo ng pag-asa yung isang tao na binibigyan mo siya ng hope. Paano kung this person, wala pala siyang ginawang action? So, baka ma-retain yun sa isip niya na parang wishful thinking. Mag-iisip lang ako na magkakaroon ng pag-asa, pero in reality, hindi naman talaga. So, instead of saying that, pwede rin sabihin na, this is really hard and I'm thinking of you. Or, kung meron kayong naisip na ibang statement na babagay dito, basta hindi ini-ignore ang negative emotions or hindi natin ina-acknowledge natin negative emotions, pwede din iyon. So here, positive vibes only. Ayan. So, ito yung nakikita ko mostly sa internet na positive vibes lang dito. Na sinasabi na ini-ignore. Bawal nating i-acknowledge yung negative emotions. So, instead of saying this, pwede nating sabihin na, I'm here for you through both bad and good. So, at least dalawa. Ayan. Next is, if I can do it, so you can. So, sinasabi natin dito na kung kaya ko, kaya mo din. So, 'di ba, minsan itong skills yung pala hindi magkatulad ng skills. So, instead of saying that na parang comparing you and me, kino-compare mo siya sa ibang tao. Pwede mong sabihin na everyone's story, abilities, limitations are different and that's okay. So, ina-acknowledge mo na ito yung kaya nating gawin, so at least pwede pa tayo ma-develop kung ito yung dapat na effort na kailangan nating ilagay. Or kailangan tanggapin yung limitations. And from there, kung kaya mong tanggapin ang limitations natin, so mag-grow pa tayo. Next is delete negativity. So hindi natin pwedeng ma-delete talaga yung negativity sa mundo. So instead of saying that suffering is part of life, you are not alone. So sinasabi mo dito na we here for you, tapos naranasan din namin kung anong naranasan mo. Next is look for the silver lining. Ayan. So, lalo na, depende ha, kasi may kanya-kanyang perception tayo dito eh. So, look for silver lining. Instead of saying these words, pwede mong sabihin na, I see you and I'm here for you. Kasi may mga ibang tao na, hindi ko na nga makita kung ano yung positive sa sitwasyon ko eh. So, for them, it's toxic. Ayan. For us, it's toxic. Or sa ibang tao. So, pwede itong sabihin mo. Last is, everything happens for a reason. So, sinasabi natin dito na kung lahat ng bagay may reason, baka hindi natin i-persevere kung ano yung mga gusto natin gawin. Halimbawa, sa work, ilang beses ka nag-apply dito sa work na to, hindi ka pa rin halimbawa lang to natatanggap or sa ibang sitwasyon. So, sasabi mo lang na baka may pag-asa pa in the future, pero hindi natin na-realize na baka may mistake tayo na ginawa, kaya hindi mangyari kung anong gusto natin gawin. So, instead of saying that, sometimes we can draw the short straw in life. So, how can I support you? So, sa mga statement dito, binavalidate natin yung negative emotions at hindi natin i-ignore. And laging may support. Lagi mo siyang sasabihan na, I'm here for you, I can support you. And, yun. So, andun yung empathy. Na naranasan ko din yan, or kung hindi mo man naranasan, sympathy. Naintindihan ko yung nararamdaman mo sa sitwasyon mo. So, ito yung mga example na nakita ko online na nag-gather din ni Dr. Long and Miss Quintero sa DC Positive Psychology Group. Ayan. So, ito yung mga example. Kasi, pero depende sa may mga bagay ka din kasi na, may mga words or statement din kasi na subtle, o pag sinabing subtle, is, para sa akin, hindi naman yun toxic. Pero sa ibang tao pala toxic na. So, yun yung sinasabi kong perspective. Depende sa pag-unawa mo sa isang salita o sa statement na nakita mo online. So, siguro for me, kailangan mo lang talaga i-clarify. Baka naman kasi hindi toxic at nagkataon lang na post yung quote na yun. So, that's it. Depende. So, kailangan ng clarifications minsan bago maging toxic or not. Kasi kailangan din i-observe yung isang tao, right? So, next here is 5 terrible consequences of toxic optimism for our lives. So, ayan. Kung meron tayong toxic positivity mindset, ito yung maging terrible consequences na mangyari sa atin. First is, number 1 is, you lie to yourself. Kahit alam mong malungkot tayo, hindi natin maabit na posibleng nag-focus lang tayo sa, posibleng nakafocus lang tayo sa mindset na dapat happy lang ako. O makakatulong sa akin pag overflowing yung positive emotions kasi sabi ni Miss Hannah before, nung nag-attend ako sa cultivating happiness niya, dapat positive emotions lang, cultivate positive emotions. So which is, in reality, it hinders us to grow. And in reality as well, your emotions tells you otherwise. Physiologically, emotionally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, sinasabi sa'yo na may discomfort ka nang nararamdaman. So, pero pinipilit mo pa rin na, hindi, happy lang ako. So, yun na yung pumapasok na nagsisinungaling ka sa sarili mo. Kasi, sinasabi ng emotion mo na, no, I'm sad. Hindi, happy ka. So, ganun yun. Ganun yun. Next is, we develop selective attention. Ayan. So, being overly optimistic will lead us to focus solely on things we want to see. That excessive optimism will even interpret alarm signals as confirmation that all is well. So, leading us to ignore small problems which are likely to continue to grow in insurmountable obstacles. Pag hindi mo binalidate or acknowledge yung iyong emotions, kahit mga simpleng emotions lang o simpleng negative emotions or discomfort, kapag hindi na-acknowledge, mas lalaki pa yan. At iba yung, maybe yung sa future mo malalaman yung consequences. Kasi posible magkaroon ka ng anxiety or depression. Because, yan, selective lang yung attention, more on positive ka lang. Positive. So third is taking steps in the wrong directions. So here, excessive optimism prevents an objective assessment of reality. As a result, we're not able to adapt our own script to what happens and finish taking step in the wrong direction towards unattainable goals. So, dito, sobrang positive emotions lang yung kinikater mo, nakakalimutan mo na, kagaya kanina, nakakalimutan natin yung mga pitfalls. So, instead na you're in the right directions, kasi minsan kasi, for example, you're passionate with something, pero sa sobrang optimistic yung outlook mo doon sa project na yon o sa passion mo, nakakalimutan mo na, ay, may obstacle pala kung kailangan intindihin kasi hindi naman lagi smooth path. So, naisip mo, ay, ayoko na kasi ito pala siya. So, instead of persevering your goals, ang ginawa mo, umalis ka na lang dun sa goals na yun kasi masyadong mahirap for you at hindi yun ang na-expect mo. Next is not having a plan B. So in life, especially when you are undertake major projects, it is essential to remain vigilant to changes in directions to correct the course. And if necessary, mag-apply tayo ng plan B. C, D, E, F, G hanggang Z. So toxic optimism even prevents us from assessing that possibility is like betting anything in single hand without being aware that there are likely chance to lose. Pag positive, pag positive emotions lang, hoping in the future without doing the action, walang plan B. Nakalimutan na may mga loopholes pala yung kailangan kong harapin. So, impulsive, go lang ng go. Nakalimutan na mag-plan, magplano, or mag-i-assess yung situation. So, ganun ang nangyayari kapag more on 100% ano ka lang, focus ka lang on the positive side. Next is you develop unrealistic expectations. So we organize much of our lives based on what we hope to achieve, which means we feed unrealistic expectations to live in the world of our minds, increasingly turning away from reality. For example, why would I need to bring an umbrella if it will not rain? So parang ganun siya. So nakaka-develop ka ng mga unrealistic expectations, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, hindi ka nagpaplano dahil ito iniisip mo smooth lang ang mangyayari sa goals mo, not knowing na marami palang obstacles along the way. So yun siya. Now, how to counteract this dilemma or counteract toxic positivity? Ayan. Number one is aim for balance. For example, um, ang signature strength mo is kindness. Okay? Ngayon, paano ma-aim yung balance dito? Paano ma-aim yung balance? So, may different kinds of givers. Otherish givers and selfless givers. Kapag selfless givers, sa kindness to ito yung bigay ka lang ng bigay. Selfless givers, bigay ka ng bigay. Pero hindi mo naisip yung needs mo and your time. Ayan. So, yung isa naman, otherish givers. Yung otherish givers naman, ito yung nagbibigay ka sa iba, binibigay mo yung time mo, pero at the same time, nagbibigay ka din, binibigyan mo din yung sarili mo ng time. So parang generous ka sa iba, generous ka din sa sarili mo. So yun ang naging balance doon. Hindi mo kinakalimutan yung sarili mo. That's the balance. Yun yung aiming for balance. Pag nagbibigay sa iba, magbigay sa sarili. Kapag, paano pa ba? Ito example, itong balance. So nakita nyo, balance lang, balance. Kapag empathy naman, pag empathy, understanding of other people's emotions, kailangan mo din intindihin kapag nakaramdam ka na ng discomfort. Hindi na. So, konting distansya. And then, kapag kaya mo i-refill yung sarili, pag na-refill mo na yung sarili mo, and ganun ulit. So, balance lang siya. Huwag mo kakalimutan yung sarili. Yun ibig sabihin ng balance dito. Next is the acceptance of both good and bad emotions rather than all or nothing thinking. Kapag all or nothing thinking, black and white, wala na yung gray. So, ibig sabihin, kung go, go. Kung no, no. Kung stop, stop. Ganun lang yung thinking kapag all or nothing. So, first thing is, we should be aware of our own emotions and acknowledge them. Bakit? Kasi, kagaya na sinabi ko kanina, kailangan pag all or nothing kasi, posibleng hindi mo na na-weigh kung ano yung dapat gawin. Pwede naman may middle, kung edge by edge ba, lagi na lang kung magandang mangyayari. Pag negative, negative. Meron namang middle. Kailangan mo lang tignan, kailangan mo lang ng new perspective. Kailangan mo lang makita yun to balance everything. Tapos i-acknowledge mo yung negative emotions para ka nakipag-deal. So yun, good and bad emotions, acknowledge siya. Next is to set healthy boundaries. For example, we are the volunteers in the community. So make sure that we should know our needs first. Kailangan kung volunteer ka, nag-volunteer tayo in the community, diba? Kailangan alamin mo yung needs. Kailangan alamin natin yung needs natin. Physical needs, emotional needs, lahat ng needs. Psychological needs. Name your limits. Kailangan alamin mo yung limit mo. practice self-awareness, practice self-awareness, meditations, mindfulness. Tapos, make self-care your priority. Kasi remember, ikaw lang makakapag-feel or feel ng sarili mong cup. So, paano ka makakatulong sa iba kung ikaw ay empty cup? And then, kung kailangan na kailangan, seek support to other people. Kasi nakakatulong talaga yan. Yung social interactions, according to study, is to enhance, nakaka-enhance siya ng positive emotions and happiness. Pero ito yung sasabi kong social interaction na give and take ha. Genuine relationship. So, last is, please understand and accept that life is beautiful, painful, imperfect, and we grow so much as an individual, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, because of those adversities. Pero kasi ang buhay, di ba, hindi naman more on maganda lang lagi. May mga obstacle din yun. Pero doon tayo nag-grow. Ayan. So, that's it, everyone. Ayan.
Ayan. Thank you, Ma'am Hana. Very informative.
Sir Ross. Sana, go.
I'm back. Ayan, ano muna tayo, makipag-interact muna. Interact po muna tayo sa ating mga
audience.
Viewers.
Audience.
Ayan. Hi kay Sir Jax. Naging audience sa Sir Jax. Ayan. Tapos, sa ating mga viewers, hi po kay Angeli M. Magana.
Hi. Hello. Hello, Angeli. Kilala ko siya.
Ayan po kay Saitama Jane.
Hello. Ay, hello, Leo D. Nice. Yan yung mga naka-email ko. Mga ka-email. Hi, hello po from Bacoor.
Sikat ka pala, ma'am, no? Hello po sa Bacoor kay
hello lang ako. Hello po, Ma'am Aileen. Actually, di ko sa kilala, pero nakiki-hello lang ako. Hi, Sir Michael.
And hi, si Ate Ann, member din po siya ng ating Sinagdiwa.
Hinahay ko lang.
Ayun. Ayun, ma'am, questions lang po. May during po ng discussions.
Clarifications, ayan, go.
Ayan, clarifications lang po. Nakabuo po ako ng 3 question.
Okay, go.
Ayan. Una po, paano po natin madidistinguish yung positive side ngayon po during pandemic, no? Ngayon po kasi sa Cavite is GCQ, MECQ po ulit. Tapos ngayon parang nagbabalak po ulit sila na ipagpatuloy yung MECQ. Ngayon po, paano po natin madidistinguish yung positive side na during pandemic? Kasi parang, alam niyo po, parang medyo yung mga tao ngayon hindi na nila, parang full of anxiety, full of panic attack, negative thoughts. Paano po ba natin ma-identify yung kahit na may pandemic, doon pa rin si positive side? Without, hindi po siya parang toxic positivity. Parang yung positivism pa rin po.
Okay. Okay. So, teka, inisip ko yung, ayan. Sa positive psychology kasi, ang positive psychology is a tool. Sa tool siya. So, nandyan lang yung tool na yan. Ngayon, tayo as an individual, narinig ba? Baka mabilis ka magsalita. Clear? Okay, good. A positive psychology is a tool. So, nandyan lang yung tool na yan. Yan. Nag-enhance ng life because of your signature strength. Focus sa signature strength. To prevent yung mga problems, kasi piniprevent siya bago mag-occur. Tayong individual, tayo as human beings, tayo prone tayo to think negative things. Hardwire tayo na mag-isip ng mga negatibong bagay-bagay. Bukod doon, sa nag-iisip tayo ng mga negative things, natitrigger yon because of maybe with other people, kung sino yung ini-interact natin, and the environment. Ngayon, anong ginagawa ng positive psychology? So, nag-iisip ka, diba? Pero kang strategy. So, hindi lang siya more on emotions Kasi kailangan mo din mag-isip. Kailangan mo mag-analyze and strategize. Parang ganito siya. So, ako, hindi mo hindi mo i-ignore yung negative emotions kagaya na sinabi ko kanina. Hindi mo i-ignore. Ang gagawin mo, i-acknowledge mo na meron na, kakaroon ka ng anxiety because of the pandemic. Kasi siyempre, hindi mo alam kung ano mangyari in the future. Right? Pag anxiety, hindi mo alam yung mga iniisip mo, parang nag-iisip ka na dyan ng mga something in the future pero hindi pa naman nangyayari. That's anxiety. Diba?
Yes.
Now, ang tools sa positive psychology is, for example, tools is savoring, meditation, gratitude, yung saying thank you or gratitude journaling, social interaction, pa ba? Social interaction and kindness. So parang yung strategy na yon naka-base doon sa FIRMA, yung sa Science Theory of Happiness. PP means positive emotions, cultivating positive emotions. E for engagement. Pag positive emotions, ibig sabihin may mga ginagawa kang bagay para ma-enhance yung emotions mo. For example, watching funny movies, so nakapag-enhance yun ng positive emotions. E, engagement, doing your hobbies, yung mga hobbies mo kung saan ka drawn. Kasi nag-e-enhance din yun. Engagement. PE per R, relationship. Social relationship, makipag-connect ka sa ibang tao, makipag-socialize ka, lalo na tong social relationship na to. Kasi physiologically, ang ating neurotransmitter, ito siya neurotransmitter ang may kagawa ng lahat ng ito. Ang neurotransmitter natin, for example, even the kiss, hugs, or intimate, ay nagre-release ng oxytocin yung brain natin para magkaroon tayo ng bond with other people. Pero hindi lang naman dun sa intimate relationship. Doon din sa mga family natin, friends natin. Kasi nag-release siya ng oxytocin. Oxytocin is yan yung happiness o happy hormones na natawag. So kaya mahalagang mahalaga ang relationship. At yung relationship is nagbibigay sa'yo ng support. Next, P-E-R. M. Meaning. Finding and creating your meaning. Paano ka magpa-find and create your meaning? Kapag, sabi ni Seligman, you cater, parang nagki-cater ka na sa ibang tao, gumagawa ka ng bagay na makakapag-benefit yung ibang tao, hindi lang ikaw. That's how you cultivate your meaning and finding your meaning. A, accomplishment. So sa PERMA to accomplishments, kasi kailangan mo may at least ma-accomplish ka, even simple things. Kasi nag-enhance din yun ng positive emotions. Ngayon may nadagdag sila, vitality. Vitality is kapag nag-exercise ka, kumain ka ng maayos, yun. Physical naman ito. Kasi sa study kasi kapag nag-exercise, nag-enhance hindi lang yung physical mo, kundi emotion and mental. Paano ko mako-connect to? Kasi, kunyari, sa pandemic, nasa loob naman tayo ng bahay, anong gagawin mo? E di, makipag-socialize ka sa family mo, makipag-bond ka sa kanila kasi nakakapag-cultivate yun ng happiness. Remember, kung nasa loob tayo ng bahay, anong gagawin natin? Alangan naman mag-computer ka lang. Oo, nakakapagbigay siya ng happiness, pero saglit lang yun Saglit lang yung kaligayahan na gagawa nun. So, para siyang pleasant lifestyle. Yung parang instant gratification. Otherwise, pag makipag-connect ka sa family mo, diba? Nabigyan ka pa ng happiness, nabigyan mo pa sila ng happiness, o diba? Nag-increase pa yung level ng mo sa relationship. At ngayon dito lang tayo sa bahay, try to cultivate your hobbies, o mag-try ka ng iba. Parang ganun siya. Nasagot ko ba yung tanong?
Opo naman po. And of course,
clarifications, willing naman ako i-clarify.
Sure po. Ayun. And during this pandemic, yung mga nararamdaman din naman po natin, mga Ma'am Hana, is valid kasi there is an abnormal situation. Like pandemic. Ganon.
Oo.
Kaya valid pa rin siya.
Yes. Hindi mo mapipigilang magkaroon ng anxiety or ma-depress. Baka may ginagawa ka kasi na-postpone yung ginagawa mo. So for you, yun yung hindi maganda. So kailangan mo siyang i-acknowledge, i-process mo yun. Paano ipa-process? Hindi mo siya mapaprocess by ignoring those feelings or emotions. Anong gagawin mo? Upuan mo talaga. Bibigyan mo siya ng time. Magre-reflect ka talaga. From there, magsusulat ka. O kung ayaw magsulat, kasi ako nagsusulat. Kung ayaw magsulat, kung ano yung mga bagay na kinakatakot mo, yung feelings mo, mag-reflect ka. So, doon mo malalaman kung ano yung mga bagay na kailangan mong gawin.
Kasi agad-agad yung transition natin Kasi parang, syempre, wala naman po nakakaalam kung kailan ba tumatapos si COVID. Tapos, nung tumama na si COVID, nagkaroon tayo ng transition from working outside and then working from home.
Oo.
Ngayon, ang naging tendency is, hindi na natin ma-distinguish kung ano ba yung work sa office and household chores natin. Kaya medyo yun yung nagiging effect sa atin.
Okay. Oo, kasi medyo mahirap yung environment kasi natin, parang na-condition tayo. Pag sa bahay, pahinga. Pero depende yan sa inyo,
Yes.
Depende yan kung paano yung kinondisyon yung sarili nyo. So, pag sa bahay, hindi ganun yung pag-condition ko. So, ako kasi ganito. So, kung halimbawa, sa iba, kinondisyon nila, pag dito sa bahay, pahinga na ako. Ngayon, ang transition is from sa office, naging office na yung bahay. So, adjustment. Kailangan mo din mag-adjust. So, yung mga ibang tao na medyo matagal mag-adjust, weeks, months mag-adjust. May mga tao naman na isang linggo lang kaya nilang mag-adjust kaya madali lang sa bahay magtrabaho, parang ganun. So, ito, ang positive psychology din is, although na sa kasalukuyan, nandito tayo sa pandemic, hindi ibig sabihin negative. Pag negative, hindi mo na, kunya, i-acknowledge mo lang yung negative. Titingnan mo din, aside from acknowledging sa negative things around you or your emotions, titingnan mo din kung ano yung bagay na pwede mong magawa. Ano yun din yung positive doon. So, hindi lang siya, positive, acknowledge ko siya. Dito na lang ako mag-acknowledge. Pero hindi. Kasi kailangan maisip natin kung ano yung pwedeng solusyon sa problema. Although nandito ka sa sitwasyon natin ngayon, pandemic. So, ano yung pwedeng magawa? Doon naman tayo naging resilient by undergoing such adversities.
Yes. And I think parang nasagot na yung question ni Sir Jax kanina.
Sa perspective po ng positive, Sa perspective po ng positive psychology, what would be the best approach kapag may nag-share po sa inyo ng concerns and anxiety during ngayong pandemic? What would be the best approach? Depende ano yung concern niya. Kasi hindi pwedeng, di ba remember, kapag nagbibigay ka ng solusyon sa isang problema, alamin mo yung pinag-ugatan. Kasi pag hindi mo alam, baka magbigay ka na lang ng solusyon hindi pala suitable.
Halimbawa po, mamahana, kapag ang isang nag-open po sa inyo ng concern is parang, nahihirapan po ako maghanap ng trabaho ngayong pandemic. Tapos nagkakos po yun ng anxiety sa kanya. Paano po yung best approach natin sa ganung situation?
Oo, totoo yan. Kasi talagang relatable yan. Kasi sa ibang tao na, halimbawa, paano yung gagawin ko tapos may mga expenses pa, diba? So, hindi may iwasan. Hindi ako yung, hindi ito yung instant na solution doon sa problema problema natin sa problema sa tanong mo. Pero ito, ano yung ina-applyan? For example, ano yung skill mo? Ngayon, mag-reflect ka. Anong skill mo? Ano yung in-applyan mo before? Ano yung experience? Ano yung mga trabaho o kumpanya na gusto mong applyan? Kapag close to, alin yung pwede kong applyan na kahit hindi related sa akin, sa trabaho ko before, yun yung pwede ko rin pa rin applyan. Kasi kailangan mo din maging flexi paminsan-minsan. Kunyari, hindi naman talaga ito yung trabaho ko before. So, ano yung pwede kong gawin na applyan online?
Ngayon, pwede rin tayo mag-online selling kung hindi tayo makapaghanap pa ng ngayon ng trabaho kasi talagang mahirap lumabas at mahirap din talaga makihalubilo sa ibang tao kasi hindi natin nakikita si virus. Ngayon po, yes po,
online, kung feel nyo magturo, may mga online teaching may mga online teachings, tama ba ang yan? May mga online na pwede kang magturo Mabilis lang yung process. Kung gusto nyo yung ganun. So, kailangan mo din kasi isipin kung ano yung saan ka pwede maging flexi Lalo na kung may instant yung kailangan, lalo yung kailangan natin magbayad ng mga bills, diba?
True po. And question po from Easy Consuegra. Paano po kapag yung friend ko extrovert pero parang nagiging introvert because of pandemic? Paano po kaya siya mag-guide?
Okay. Kung extrovert siya before at naging introvert siya ngayon, easy. Tanong ko lang, may problem ba siya? Nag-isolate ba siya? Hindi na ba siya naliligo? So usually, ganun yung mga signs and symptoms. Hindi naliligo, hindi na nakipag-usap. Ano yung mga niya yun? So, kung introvert siya before, pwede mo siyang kausapin kasi may ways naman tayo on how to interact with other people. Lalo ngayong pandemic, pwede kang mag-video call sa kanya. Kausapin mo siya kung ano yung problem niya talaga. Kasi kung extrovert, malay mo naman nakapag-adapt. Pwedeng ganun Pwedeng nakapag-adapt siya. Tapos, pwedeng gusto niya na lang sa bahay. ay okay pala dito sa bahay. Adapt, mali mo naman meron siyang ability na to adapt with the situation. Kaya tanongin niya muna kung anong problema, di ba? Kasi observation and then confirmation.
Oh,
Next
yes.
is,
And question from Ellen May. Ano po magandang i-advise sa friend ko kasi minsan bigla na lang po siyang naiiyak.
okay. Pag sa mga ganitong bagay, pag bilang naiiyak, tanongin mo muna kung anong problem. Kasi hindi ka pwedeng mag-advise without knowing the cause. So,
Truth.
oo, totoo yun. Kasi, di ba, baka naman kasi nagda-doubt ka lang na ito yung problem niya, pero in reality, iba pala yung problem niya talaga. So, pag mga ganyan, maging open ka sa kanya na, tanungin mo siya. Tapos, paunti-unti, mo siya maging open sa'yo, hindi pwedeng biglaan. Lalo na kung hindi naman talaga siya yung kind of person na nag-disclose agad ng problem. Good evening. So, yun.
Good evening po. I think last na siya. Ayun, ay si Saitama Jane. Great examples for
Okay.
differentiating toxic and non-toxic statements. So, no further questions na po.
Ano ibig sabihin nito? Great
Ayan.
examples?
Ano lang po, parang nag-compliment lang po siya.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Hi po.
From Lanao del Norte, rainy evening. Stay safe po dyan
Miss
from Lanao del Norte.
Lisa. Good evening.
So, yan, thank you.
Ayan.
Pa-end na
Thank
po
you din
tayo.
po, Jax. Ayan. Thank
Ayan.
you.
Ayun, Ma'am Hana, anything you would like to promote or last message po sa ating viewers?
Ay, okay. Anything to promote? Actually, wala naman so far. wala akong ipopromote.
Wala po.
Thank you po sa mga in-invite ko. Tsaka thank you din po sa mga nanood. Thank you so much po.
Ayun po.
Thank you.
Sana po
Teka
makapag-share po kayo
lang.
next time.
Teka lang. Sa Nagdiwa team, thank you so much po sa invite niyo. Sir Jack, Ma'am Joey, Sir Ross, thank you so much po sa invitation. Ayan, ang ganda na exposure ko.
Kami po yung magti-thank you dapat.
Thank you so much.
Informative na lecture sa'yo.
Ayan.
Ayun.
Ayan. Pero kung gusto niyo may mga tanong kayo at clarifications, pwede kayong mag-send ng question kay Sir Jax. Yung mga first 10 question, pwede kong ma-accommodate. Clarifications. Sige.
Ayun. So mga viewers natin, thank you sa pagsubaybay. And stay tuned lang po tayo kasi marami pa po tayong hinanda na online kamustahan. Ito rin po sa August and sa September, month of September. Ayan. Thank you again. Bye-bye. Bye.